Hello and welcome to the Yankees on Deck podcast. I'm your host, Matt Cunningham, and the Yankees got absolutely embarrassed by the Mets in this Subway Series at home. They get swept yet again. This time at the stadium, they lose an embarrassing one last night, 12-3. And don't even get me started on just all the awful shit that happened in this game. Garrett Cole did not have it. 5 2/3 innings pitched, 8 hits, 6 earned runs. The number 9 hitter, Tyrod Taylor, hit a home run off him. Tyrod Taylor, actually, that's the worst hitter in this Mets, or one of the worst hitters in this Mets lineup, was 3 for 5 in the number 9 spot. 2 RBIs. He was absolutely pound Cole, hit a home run on a high fastball. And, the Yankees just were flat on pitching, flat on offense, as per usual lately. It's just nothing new. At top of the first, again, like the first game of this series, Yankees, they have a quick 1-2-3. And then the bottom of the first, Gleyber Torres, Yankees trying to catch lightning in a bottle. They put Torres in the leadoff spot. He hits a solo shot, a leadoff home run in the bottom of the first off of Sean Manaea. And I was like, all right, great. Torres, one of the few bright spots actually of late is Torres has been heating up. In his last 7 games, he's hitting .346 batting average, 2 home runs, 3 RBIs. And then over the last 15 games, he's hitting .269 with 2 homers, 5 RBIs. So he's hitting better of late. And look, we're going to need Gleyber Torres. And I'm pretty sure I've said this before, but at the end of the day, if you don't have key guys in this lineup that should be hitting this year that aren't, such as Torres, Verdugo, Volpe, even LeMahieu, I mean, the Yankees won't have a shot regardless. Because at the end of the day, you can go out and have a massive trade deadline, right? But at the end of the day, there's nothing you can do in terms of trade deadline to totally fix this team and say, okay, yeah, all right, the rest of these guys can just keep doing what they're doing. No, it doesn't work like that. Trade deadline is one of the things that need to go well in order for this team to right the ship, but they need their other core guys, besides 2 hitters in Judge and Soto, to actually pick up slack like we've been saying over the last 30, 40 plus games in the last few months. I mean, that's just something that needs to happen. And something else that's unacceptable is over the last 30 plus games, the Yankees' record is 1 game better than the Chicago White Sox. The Chicago White Sox, who will go down as one of the worst teams in baseball history and the worst team by far this year. They are 27-78 in the AL Central, 35 and a half games out. And the Yankees are 1 game better than them record-wise when you look at the last 30-plus games. That is ridiculous. I saw that stat the other day. Also heard it on the radio too. Unbelievable. And the fact of the matter is, one of the reasons why this Yankee team can't win games, and we've talked about this, is because they have no protection in the lineup. Okay, we saw this happening in the first game of this series, where they just walked Judge 4 times because they had nobody in the heart of the order outside of Soto and Judge that were doing anything. Let's look at the Yankees' rankings of OPS by batting order. Okay, this goes to show you how little protection there is in this lineup for Judge and Soto. Leading off in the first spot, the Yankees' OPS ranking is 27th out of 30 in Major League Baseball. In the number 2 hole, they're ranked first, obviously, because that's where Juan Soto hits. Third, they're ranked first, obviously, because Judge and Soto hit back-to-back. And then, the cleanup spot where J.D. Davis has been hitting. 4th, ranked dead last. No surprise there. 5th, actually not terrible at 10th. 6th, they ranked 9th. That's usually where Volpe hits. But Volpe, he's starting to finally pick it up. If you look at over the last week, had a dreadful game last night. But he's another guy. We need him to produce like he did at the start of the year in order to completely right the ship. In the 7th hole, we rank 9th, which isn't bad either. But then you get to 8th and 9th, and 8th we rank 23rd, and 9th we rank 10th. So really not a whole lot of good there, and you can see why that's one of the core problems with this Yankee team is because they have no protection in this lineup behind Judge and Soto. So what a team's going to do? Well, if you can get Soto out, if you can get one of them out, and then you just walk the other, there's your solution right there. And that's what the Mets did this series, and that's what they did in Queens. Essentially, they just pitched around those two guys, and then everybody else in that lineup basically is an automatic out. That's the way it's been. So there is so much this team needs at the deadline. It's not just one area or one key area. It's a multitude of things. It's a third baseman, a first baseman, a second baseman, bullpen help, starting pitching even preferably. It's all over the place. Okay, and if you're sitting there and you're Brian Cashman, you're wondering, how the heck did I assemble this team for $300+ million, and this is what I'm left with? Well, we have a lot of dead weight on this team. DJ LeMahieu, who's still owed over $40 million the next 3 years. Giancarlo Stan's still under contract for a while, and he's out, and we're relying on him to come back because Stan's actually been an above-average player this year, despite, getting hurt yet again, which is no surprise to anybody. But it's kind of sad that we got to rely on a guy who can't stay healthy and is already getting up there in age. Rizzo, the same thing. He's still out. You got Ben Rice, who, look, he's been struggling. Okay, but the last few games hit some balls on the screws. He didn't play at all last night, which to me, I don't understand it. I really don't. He's scuffling right now. He's batting 196, but preferable. Come on, let's be real. Would you rather see a young kid like Rice, who got called up and had a 3-homer game against the Red Sox and showed some promise? Would you rather watch that guy, hopefully who's young, 25 years old, try and work out of that than freaking J.D. Davis, who got released by one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball in the Oakland A's? Come on, give me a break. And the whole excuse by Aaron Boone made to start this guy because the probable matchups. Oh, he's better against lefties. I don't want to hear that shit. I'm sick of matchups. You need to play the best players available on a given day. I don't give a shit about matchups because at the end of the day, matchups don't work in your favor when the guy you're putting in there sucks to begin with. He's terrible. Why do you think Oakland released him? The Mets, he was awful with the Mets. Mets fans couldn't stand him. And he's been awful for nearly every team he's been on. And the Yankees pick him up for that one slight advantage because he's slightly better against lefties. Even though this year he's been awful, Aaron Boone goes on these press conferences, after the game, and he says, J.D. Davis has had a lot of recent success. Really? What recent success? Not this year, he hasn't. Not this year. He's hitting 105 for us right now in 7 games, 22 at-bats. Oakland, he played in 39 games, 135 plate appearances. He hit 236, 4 home runs. You want to go back to 2023? Okay, last year he hit 18 home runs, 248 batting average. That was over a year ago. What is it? What has he done? Anything of late? And if Oakland's cutting him, Oakland is bottom of the barrel team. And if they're cutting him, come on. What are you going to expect from this guy? Now, look, when the Yankees acquired J.D. Davis, I was like, look, okay, whatever. Maybe you can catch lightning in a bottle. But it's over now. It's done. Stop playing him over young players that have potential. I want to see Wells get reps because, look, when they actually play Wells consistently, he's been great. He walks a lot, too. He's been having great at-bats. Rice, he's been struggling, but if you actually watch some of the games, he's been hitting some balls on the screws. You can tell he's getting out of it hopefully soon. I want to see these guys play. If this team really sucks this year, which they do right now, and if this is all legit and the collapse is going to happen for the rest of the year, if that's really the thing, you know what? I want to see some of the young guys get play. I don't want to see freaking J.D. Davis, who's been released by multiple teams across Major League Baseball, and who stinks. He's no young guy. He's no spring chicken. I don't want. I'm tired of this. This is a joke. Part of this is a minor league lineup. A minor league lineup that the Yankees roll out because somehow every year too. And actually, someone made a great post on Twitter. JD Davis is 31 years old, by the way. I mean, this guy's, a veteran that just bounces around, and he's a bench bat at most. It should be in the minor leagues. But what I saw someone make a post about was, every year we have this problem, not just with injuries, but rolling guys out in the lineup that shouldn't be on a roster. And with our payroll, I mean, Shane Robinson, Willie Calhoun, Billy McKinney, who's the other guy? Jake Bowers. I mean, we're putting these guys out there that would be on like the freaking Oakland A's or the Rays. I mean, what? And we have this huge payroll, and this is the best we get in the heart of our order. Our cleanup hitter is JD Davis. We have our leadoff hitter half the time being Jahmai Jones. What are we doing? It's crazy. And the lineup the Yankees rolled out in the second game, because that's what we're talking about, wasn't as terrible. I'm actually glad they put Gleyber Torres back in the leadoff spot for that game, because he's been hitting better, and you hope he can catch lightning in a bottle, because there's really not a ton of better options. I mean, and that's kind of honestly what I was hoping for. I was thinking Torres or maybe put Volpe back up there, because he's been swinging the bat better of late. And those are my two options, I would say. You know what I mean? Because why would you put Jahmai Jones there? The guy is a minor league player. Look up his stats. I'm sick of this crap. Juan Soto, then you have Judge. Obviously, those two, two real hitters on this team right now. And Ben Rice, I really don't understand it. If I say this about the young rookies all the time, by not playing them consistently, you're screwing them up. Why are they even here? Austin Wells, Ben Rice, look, and I say this too with the catchers too, right? If Austin Wells can have any future with this team, if he's going to be the future everyday starting catcher for this team, he needs to play every day, because that's what happens. I mean, look, you have Jorge Posada. That was the same deal. He had to face lefties. I mean, it's going to have to happen. So might as well learn it at some point. Might as well learn it now instead of later. That's why it just doesn't make any sense to me. And the same thing with Ben Rice, because that's what Anthony Rizzo has to deal with. He's a lefty. So why are we just like not playing these kids at all and screwing up their development because, the matchups are slightly more favorable for a guy who sucks anyway? I mean, make it make sense, people. And Alex Verdugo, I mean, look, the guy was great at the beginning of the year. We acquired him. He hits a lot of doubles. He can decent defense and left field, but my goodness, on ball, the last 2 months been dreadful. He's been absolutely dreadful. And I want to talk a little bit about him, because this is another guy who we need desperately to pick it up in our lineup. I mean, the guy we required, the whole righty lefty balance, and we've just gotten hardly any production from him. And this is where, he's Alex Verdugo has statistically been one of the worst hitters in Major League Baseball by far. I mean, the guy has completely fallen off a cliff. I mean, we talked about his 5 for 105 stretch, but we need to talk more about how this guy has just completely stopped hitting entirely. I mean, just completely stopped. And then the defense too, you had Baltimore, all that crap. It's just, and I want to pull up, sorry, my computer's being a little bit finicky. I just have a ton of work stuff on here. I want to pull up some stats too that I have on my spreadsheet here. So left fielder Alex Verdugo, defense has been a huge blunder for him. He's had a negative 0.7 FWAR. That's fielding percentage, dating back to June 15th, after he made his reappearance at Fenway. And he's been hitting 154 batting average since then, which ranks 168th out of 169 players, qualified players. So what I just said, one of the worst, almost the worst player in Major League Baseball, has a 220 on base percentage in that stretch, a 222 slugging percentage, and a 29 WRC plus are all dead last in that category. That's from ESPN stat book. I pulled that. in my spreadsheet. And, there's no answer. I mean, you know, you call up Ben Rice, Austin Wells. They've started him a little bit in the cleanup spot. And, that's something I honestly agree with. And funny enough, they did it after a reporter suggested that. Chris Krishner, a reporter that works for The Athletic and covers the Yankees, he suggested that. And then the Yankees start putting Austin Wells in the cleanup spot. That's how much of a joke this organization is. They need actual suggestions from a reporter. And their smart analytical team. They couldn't figure that out. I mean, Austin Wells was getting on base in an insane clip. Okay, he was walking, he was having great at bats, showing his power a little bit. And this is a guy, look, like I've said, if you just look at the back of his baseball card and you're a casual, you see, 225 batting average, 7 home runs, he stinks. You got to look more at the underlying numbers with him. Last 7 games, he's hitting 278. Over the last 15 games, 268. His on-base percentage has been 519 in this last week stretch, over 400 in the last 15-game stretch. So the guy gets on base. He shows some power. He's got 5 home runs within the last 20-plus games. I want to see this guy play more. Again, this guy does not get enough playing time, and that could be part of the reason why, his stats really don't jump out at you. Because, look, you didn't start. You got off to the season on a bad note. He was very cold. Had also some really bad luck too. He hit some balls incredibly hard that weren't getting any hits. But if you play this guy every day, it's looking like he's going to get a lot better. And the Yankees just keep screwing that up because they're not playing him consistently enough. Hopefully, finally, now that they're putting him in the cleanup spot because they're desperate, they keep doing that. At least for now, at least till the trade deadline. But regardless, he needs to be in the lineup every day. Anthony Volpe, we're talking about this game. Okay, Anthony Volpe, he was 0 for 5 last night. 2 strikeouts, just really bad at bats. Batting average down to 251, 681 OPS. I mean, it's just it's bad. I mean, and look, Anthony Volpe, to his credit, he's actually been picking it up of late. Him and Torres. He's hitting 333 batting average over his last 7 games. So we're gonna need that from him. We're gonna need him. We're gonna need Torres. We're gonna need Verdugo. I mean, those 3 guys all at once not hitting is massive, massively crushing, us as an offensive unit. Because I mean, those are guys that we brought in. Verdugo being one of them. And then hoping Volpe builds off of last year. That were like, all right, these guys can be table setters, and they just haven't been that the last 2 months. DJ LeMahieu, I mean, look, I know we're paying this guy $15 million a year, but at what point are you going to say this guy's unplayable? I mean, I've been saying that on every episode. He's hitting 179, has just 1 home run, 12 RBIs. Last night, he was 0 for 3, same usual shit, just beating the ball into the ground. And it's just the Yankees just keep trying him out there. It's like either him or Jahmai Jones or, some shit player. I mean, third base is probably the biggest issue with this team. We have no power out of third base. DJ LeMahieu doesn't have it. Jahmai Jones doesn't have it. Cabrera's not a power hitter. Cabrera's like a utility guy, okay? He can play all over the field. He's a serviceable bench bat, okay? I like Cabrera. He got off to a crazy start at the beginning of the year, but he's not a starter, all right? So, but at the end of the day, he's a better option than LeMahieu. At this point, put Cabrera at third until the trade deadline, until you figure it out then. Because I just can't stand watching DJ anymore. He's old. He's slow. It's just same usual with him. And then to cover more of this game, let's get back to the game. Yankees were up 1-0, and then, top of the second, Juan Soto makes a nice play and right on a Jeff McNeil fly ball. I don't know if it was robbing a home run, but it looked close. Leaping at the wall. And then the Mets, they get started in the 3rd inning. They score thanks to, Tyrone Taylor hitting a home run out of the number 9 spot of Garrett Cole, which I don't know. Garrett Cole Garrett Cole had a shit start, okay? His 2 previous starts, he was great. It happens. Let's hope he can bounce back. I mean, but it's just weird, man. He finds the way to give up these crazy home runs to guys who are absolute shit players. And then we go to the top of the 4th. Yankees tie the game on they take the lead 2-1 on a Juan Soto home run to center field. And then, of course, they have that lead for 2 seconds. And then we go to the top of the 4th. Pete Alonso hits a towering home run to left field to give the Mets a 3-2 lead. So Yankees just piss away that lead awfully quick. Literally, I made the post on Yankees on Deck, the Juan Soto home run, and literally like 2 minutes later, then Pete Alonso hits a home run. And I'm like, all right, whatever. Bottom of the 4th, the Yankees do nothing. Top of the 5th, Francisco Lindor hits a 2-run home run, 5-2 Mets. Yankees again do nothing on offense. Judge and Soto get on base, and of course, Mets get out of that inning. Even bring Adam Ottavino in, who sucks, and Volpe hits into a force out to get out of that inning. Yankees had bases loaded. Of course, 2 outs. Volpe kills that inning. And then we go to the top of the 6th. Tyrone Taylor, base hit up the middle, 6-2 Mets. Bottom of the 6th, J.D. Davis strikes out. DJ LeMahieu walks. Cabrera reaches on a throwing error, and then Gleyber Torres strikes out in that inning. Of course, they do nothing. Top of the 7th, the Mets offense finally quiets down for that inning at least. And top of the 8th, Mark Vientos, who lives in my hometown actually, Norwalk, Connecticut. Or not, he doesn't live there. He was born there. Top of the 8th, Mark Vientos from Norwalk. It's a solo shot. 7-2 Mets. And then we jump, and it just gets ridiculous after that. I mean, 7-2, then there's 8-2. Tyrone Taylor reaches on a fielder's choice from Oswaldo, just booted a ball, and then Lindor hits another home run. This time batting, from the other side, 11-2 Mets. And now at that point, I was getting texts from Yankee fans that were at the game, and they're saying the Mets were taking over the stadium, and just absolute embarrassment, man. This organization should be ashamed to even show face right now. It's just ridiculous. And then it was 12-2 Mets. Vientos had a sac fly, but you get the gist. I mean, this is how it goes. This is how it went. And of course, Aaron Boone talks after the game. It's just the same quotes over and over. Yeah, we're still in this. It's right in front of us. Yeah, those same. That's why I don't watch the press conference, okay? Because it's the same regurgitated nonsense, like I've been saying. And, I have this argument, too, with some Yankee fans on Twitter. But hold on. Before I get to that, the Yankees, with runners in scoring position, were 1 for 10. And just out of curiosity, let's look at the Mets. The Mets were 3 for 8. So there you go. But Yankees typical. And runners scoring position, they do absolutely nothing 99% of the time right now. And as for the Yankees bullpen, did not have a good night at all. They brought in Tim Hill, who's actually been a good pickup for us. His ERA is now over 4, but he kind of got lit up a little bit last night. Inning in the 3rd pitch, 2 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 strikeout for him. Caleb Ferguson, who just sucks. He's the worst pitcher in our bullpen, but of course he was going to come into this game and a blowout. I mean, we're not going to use any of our real weapons. He went 3rd of an inning, 2 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. And then this young guy they called up apparently because they like his whiff rates on some of his pitches. Yandry Gomez, he's 24 years old, 4.82 ERA this season. He got absolutely lit up as well. Or actually, no, he actually didn't do that bad. I thought he was getting hit around a little bit, but he actually did get hit around a little bit, but not as bad as I thought he did. Went an inning into 2/3, gave up a couple hits, had a walk. I think the earned runs he gave up might have been charged on Ferguson. I don't remember because I think there were runners on base and whatnot. But anyway, I mean, yeah, it's just, we just brought, obviously we're bringing in bullpen guys who stink because we weren't winning this game regardless. But, yeah, it just sucks. It really sucks. All around, one of the worst Yankee games I've probably ever watched. to be honest with you. One of the worst series I've ever watched. And the Yankees get swept by the Mets in the Subway Series this year for the first time in over 10 years. Last time this happened was 2013, and we remember how bad that team was. So, you know, I don't know. I don't know. And you know, I want to talk more about Boone. I'll talk about Cashman too, because some of you guys are probably wondering why I'm not screaming at Cashman, really, and I'm screaming at Boone, and I'll get to that. And I will be screaming at Cashman. Trust me. Give me time, guys. If we have a deadline where Cashman vastly underwhelms and just hardly does anything, coincided with the fact that if we keep playing like this, I will get increasingly more angry and impatient with Brian Cashman. So give me time on that. I'm not letting Brian Cashman off the hook. Brian Cashman actually deserves way more blame than Aaron Boone. I will admit that. But that does not excuse what pisses me off the most about Aaron Boone is that Aaron Boone, throughout all of this, throughout this entire terrible, super long stretch of baseball, so well over a month, and carrying now into the second half, is that he excuses anything and everything. And I was watching the post-game press conferences regularly until I would hear the same bullshit out of Aaron Boone's mouth regarding anything negative on a player, even as simply as guys not hustling, guys showing lack of effort. And you see it in terms of hustling, or Volpe several weeks ago forgetting how many outs there were, and admitting that. And you see it. And the fact that Aaron Boone will still sit up on that podium and defend that is what is mind-blowing to me. And he does it publicly. So I get into arguments with people on Twitter and my Yankees on Deck Instagram, and I'm not going to name anybody because it's all friendly debate. Okay, I respectfully disagree with people. That's fine. We're Yankee fans. We all want the same thing. But here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to lay out the argument for people that argue that this is the Aaron Boone defenders. I'll summarize it up real quick. And they do have some valid points, okay, I will admit. So they say this lineup is so bad that any manager that were managing this team, it would be the same result. And I partially agree with that, but I also partially disagree with that. I'm like 50-50 on that. You know why? Because, yes, this lineup stinks. I just read you the numbers, the OPS numbers per every category on that stat, like fact sheet that I had. I just read you all those numbers. I'm not reading these stats verbatim. These are real stats. Go look them up. But yes, okay, yeah, this lineup is so bad. Any manager else could come in and it would be the same problem. Sure, yes, obviously. But that does not mean you can excuse some of the most unacceptable shit that Aaron Boone has defended and not called out in the slightest, such as Volpe forgetting how many outs there were on a ball that he got out on the bases several weeks ago. Trent Grisham booting that ball in center field, not hustling. DJ LeMahieu not hustling after balls at third base and not hustling down the line. All of those things, I can name a lot more, that Aaron Boone has defended when asked by the press in post-game press conferences. And I get in debates with this about people. They say, well, Aaron Boone can't bash his players. He can't go up there and say his players suck. Yeah, obviously, I get that. That's not what I'm asking from the manager. What I am asking from Aaron Boone, what I am asking from him is when we see bullshit like this going on, especially last night with Marcus Stroman and Clark Schmidt eating popcorn in the dugout when we're losing. That is crap that goes on under Aaron Boone's watch because he allows it and he accepts it. And it's going to continue to go on until he calls it out. And yeah, sometimes you need to go to the media and you need to call that out because you need people to know we're not going to tolerate this crap. I've said this before. Many managers across Major League Baseball have done that. Now it's some crazy concept for a manager to do that. Oh, because he's going to piss off the player and that player's going to get all pissy and shit. You know what? If you're going to have a problem with a manager calling you out,
in front of the media because you are not doing the bare bone minimum of effort or what any baseball player should be expected to do, not just professional, but any baseball player, when fans pay good money to go to these games, you know what? Then get off the Yankees. I've said this before. I'll say it again. It's not bashing your players when you're going up there and you're at times being honest and you're saying this is unacceptable. And yes, you can say, we're going to turn this around. We're going to be better. But show some accountability. Show some honesty. Don't go up there and say, what I'm seeing is BS. What I'm seeing is guys not hustling, guys not trying, and guys playing crappy. Don't go up there and tell me, oh, yeah, you're just seeing things. No, I know what I'm watching. I know what I'm seeing. And then Aaron Boone has the gall to go up there last night and then put like this fake tough guy act up and say, yeah, we're playing shitty, blah, blah, blah. And then after the press conference, he apologizes for saying shit. I mean, this is the guy that leads the locker room. And this is what we get. So don't tell me that there's nothing Aaron Boone can't do differently to change the trajectory at all from this team. That's BS. That's BS. I understand he's dealt a crap hand. I understand Brian Cashman assembled this roster. Clearly, that guy gets a ton of blame. And look, I've shit on that guy a lot before I started this podcast. I can't stand Brian Cashman, honestly, because yes, you have that argument. It's the same thing every year. But don't act like Aaron Boone isn't a part of that problem either. They're both part of the problem. They both are. I'd love to see Brian Cashman try and do what he does with a low payroll team, not a team that has a $300+ million payroll and is one of the highest paying teams year in and year out. I'm sick of that. So when everybody brings up, been over 500 for 30+ years, I don't want to hear that crap. Not many teams get to work with over a $300 million payroll. So stop giving Brian Cashman so much credit. Number two, Aaron Boone, and this is why I don't understand it. I mean, that's all fans say. And Aaron Boone, it's like he could do nothing wrong with some fans. It's like he could do nothing wrong. And I don't understand it. I really don't. Because at the end of the day, you have to see his quotes. And look, and if people are saying, oh, well, it's the line. Look, I understand that with the lineup and everything. Aaron Boone, can only do so much. I get that. But at the end of the day, the quotes and some of the decisions, sitting younger guys in favor of the matchups, sitting hotter hitters. Someone asked me on Twitter, well, it's not Aaron Boone's fault. What would you do differently? I'll lay it all out right now. Number one, I would stop making excuses for lack of effort, poor play. Now, that doesn't mean you have to go up there and say this guy sucks. It's not what I'm advocating for. I'm advocating for a little bit of honesty and transparency, which Joe Girardi did. I posted a clip the other day of Joe Girardi saying after bad games, yeah, we have to be better. This is terrible. We need other guys to step up. Aaron Boone's not that honest. He's not. He's got to spin every little thing into the positive, which I'm sick of hearing that all the time. Number two, Aaron Boone sitting hotter hitters over guys that stink because the matchups are slightly more favorable, as so the computers say. That is ridiculous. That is unbelievable. I mean, Buck Showalter had to deal with that crap. He said Brandon Nimmo once got like 4 hits in the game, and then Mets management was telling him to sit Brandon Nimmo the next day. Like, what? And what baseball kind of guy sits a hot hitter? When you're hot and you're feeling it at the plate, you got to keep playing. You sit, that gets you all out of your rhythm. So that's the other thing. He sat hot hitters before in Rice and Wells for Davis and Jones. That's number two. I would fix. Okay. Number three, the management of the bullpen. That's always been bad. Aaron Boone just never has a pulse of when to make the right decisions a lot of the time out of the bullpen. Now, I gave him his credit when he's made good bullpen decisions. I've come on this podcast before and said, yep, Aaron Boone made the move right when I said he should have made the move. I gave Boone his credit when he's done well with the bullpen. But again, he's not nowhere near consistently as good at that. So you have all these things I would do differently. Would it change the trajectory of the team that much because there's a lot of dead weight in this lineup? I don't know. Probably not if I had to guess, but it could change it somewhat. So to say Aaron Boone completely deserves a pass from any criticism is beyond insane to me. It's beyond insane. Then what's the point of a manager? Why do you guys then throw out the winning percentage? Although he's got the third highest winning percentage among major league managers in history. Why even throw that out there then? No, you say Aaron Boone's not to blame. Then the manager's just a puppet, right? The manager's just the guy to, sit there and save face, right? I mean, be consistent. Be consistent. I'm sick and tired of the same crap. And you know what? Aaron Boone, that's why Aaron Boone can keep going up and saying the same nonsense. And look, I understand there's not much to say when your team's struggling. And now you can maybe get like some of those regurgitated quotes, but that's not even what annoys me the most. What annoys me the most is how everything has to be spun into a positive. Okay, I understand why you have to do it in certain situations because you're trying to prop up a guy's trade value and whatnot, and you don't want to bash your players all the time in general because that's just not common sense. Look, I get all that, but show some transparency, show some honesty. When a guy goes out there and makes himself look like a complete ass and does something that no baseball player should be doing on the field, call it out. Call it out. And you know what? If that player has a problem with it, then you bring him into your office, the manager's office, and you have a conversation about it with him. Because that's unacceptable. These guys get paid tens of millions of dollars, and you're worried you're going to hurt their feelings in front of the media for calling them out on bullshit? Really? Come on. The guy's a pushover. Aaron Boone is a pushover manager. Now, let me get to Brian Cashman. Brian Cashman, if I'm going to rip Aaron Boone, you know what? I've realized the last few days, I got to rip Brian Cashman. Because Brian Cashman, as stupid and awful Aaron Boone is as a manager, Brian Cashman, my goodness, this guy, every year is with the assembling of this team. Every year, we have this same problem where we don't have enough depth on both sides of the ball, and we are plugging in guys that shouldn't even be on a major league roster. We did this last year when Judge went down with Billy McKinney and Jake Bowers, Willie Calhoun. I mean, guys that should never even see playoff contending rosters. If you want to put that guy in the Oakland A's or the Angels, go ahead. I don't even know if they're good enough to be on those teams. But the fact that we run into the same problem every year, where instead of it being one guy that we rely on, it's now two, and we run into the same problem that we did last year and years prior, and you look at the records, start off great in the first half, second half, ultimate collapse. And then this team's fortunate enough to somehow escape into the playoffs, and then they blow it, they choke. And the way it's going right now, maybe this team, at the end of the day, if this doesn't turn around and it keeps going this direction, we might not make the playoffs. I don't know. I'm hoping it does turn around though. But it's bad. It's bad. And there's no accountability. And I said after last night's game, and the reason why I didn't record last night is because I was so frustrated. I was so aggravated. And then watching the clips from the press conference from Aaron Boone and just saying the same things over and over again, it just gets me riled up. And look, I understand Aaron Boone can only say so much up there, but show some accountability. Don't get this fake, tough, angry act where it's like, we're better than this, and yeah, we're playing shitty right now. We're a good team that's playing shitty. Stop it. I don't want you to bash and insult every player. I don't want you to really do that to any players. I just want you to hold guys accountable and just say, so-and-so, what he did on this ball today, not good. He needs to be better. Boom. If I hear that from Aaron Boone, I'm fine with Aaron Boone, honestly. I still think he's a bad manager with the decisions and all that, but I would at least have some respect for him if he actually held guys accountable. And not saying they suck, just saying such and such, didn't hustle today, or such and such, didn't do this or do that. They need to be better. What player? I mean, you'd have to be some soft player to have a problem with that. And it's not going up there and saying the guy sucks. Don't get me wrong, people. It's just showing some honest transparency. That's it. My goodness. This is why I just, but anyway, aside from the Aaron Boone stuff, on to Brian Cashman. Brian Cashman, aside, the drafting development, and I think part of the problem too, I'm just thinking out loud here, is every year this team is always in it. I mean, the last time this team had a rebuild, a full-on actual rebuild, was during the Bronx Zoo era, which was the 1980s, early 90s. And that's when we got the core four, and then guys like Bernie and Tino and Shane Spencer came up, and we got all these young kids, young players that were part of those core championship runs. And part of the reason we haven't had that, right, is because we've whiffed on so many draft picks. I mean, outside of Aaron Judge and Robinson Cano over the last, 15 years, I mean, it's been pretty much all busts. Other than Judge, Cano, Yankees did draft Cole, but didn't end up signing him. So, I mean, you can't really name me other than a couple guys that most the Yankees hit on draft picks. And the problem with that is because the draft pick order, at least, I mean, now it's a little bit different. You have like the lottery system where teams, pick, have odds and stuff from what they'll get. But the way it's usually always worked, up until this point, is it would be, obviously it would be based on how bad your team was. If you had the worst team, you get the highest pick. I think the way now it works, you have the lottery system where it goes by performance, but it's not like, okay, such and such awful worst team is going to get the number one pick. They're going to have a higher percentage of getting the number one pick, or like such a top 10 pick or whatever. But the reason why they did that, I guess, because they want teams to try more and whatever. But anyway, the way it originally worked was, it went from by your performance. If you were a great team, you got an awful pick. And so the Yankees would have a good, decent record every year. And since the last 10 plus years at least, and they would get late first round picks like 16th, 18th, 20th. I mean, I don't remember the last time they had a top 10 pick in my lifetime. I don't think they've ever had a top 10 pick. So when you look at that, I mean, you're really not getting much. I mean, but again, baseball's different. You can hit on a lot of guys in later rounds, which the Yankees really haven't either. They did Aaron Judge, late first round pick. But outside of that, I mean, who else did they really, they've had some okay international free agency signings. But other than that, I mean, the scouting department has really done an awful job. Awful job. And at developing too. I mean, Anthony Volpe, we'll see how he turns out, but my goodness, it's feeling like another, it's feeling like another instance. We call up a rookie, he does good for a bit, catches lightning in a bottle, and then he, falls off. I mean, we saw that with Gary Sanchez, Tyler Austin, Greg Bird. I mean, this team does terrible in the last decade at developing prospects. And who does that fall on? That falls on Brian Cashman. That's all his people. So I don't know. I really don't know. That's number one that's on Brian Cashman. Scouting and development. It's been terrible. It's been shit. And the second thing is just bad free agency signings. All right, Judge is looking like a pretty good deal. We'll see how his contract ages as he gets older. But DJ LeMahieu, awful, terrible. Free, and the Yankees were forced to give it to him 5 years, like 90 plus million, whatever it was, because he was an all-star bat for them, so batting champ, they wanted to retain him. That's been an awful deal. And then they got money obviously tied up in Stanton. Now you have the Judge contract that eats away a lot of money. Or it doesn't eat away a lot of money. That's not what I mean by the phrase. I just mean it, it's an expense, right? And it's, they have less money to go out and do things. Now you have Soto becoming a free agent. You have Rizzo locked up for another year. I mean, you have a lot of money tied into old players.
that Brian Cashman has invested in, and that leaves you very limited to go out and do more things and get better players because you don't have as much money to do that because the Yankees obviously don't want to go over that other luxury tax threshold. So they're basically tied at their hip and, they can't do it. So it's just a mess. It's an absolute mess. And look, and some people are saying too, and I have to agree with them, you make a couple trades, you go out, you get an infielder like Rengifo, or you go out and get a corner outfielder like Rooker. It doesn't solve everything. At the end of the day, yes, the Yankees can go out and have an amazing trade deadline, but if you don't have some of these key guys stepping up like they were at the beginning of the year, like Verdugo, Volpe, and if LeMahieu doesn't get any better, then what are you left with? You're not left with much, and you're not left with much improvement. And then season's kind of a wash at that point. So these guys are going to have to step it up. These guys are going to have to wake the fuck up, and it can't just be Soto and Judge, because if it's just Soto and Judge, the Yankees will be a very easy team to beat moving forward. And they've already have been right now. And it's just, I don't know. I was looking at potential trade deadline candidates. There's a lot of guys out there, at least, bats that the Yankees could target. Pitching is so thin. There's always a good amount of relievers, though, out there that the Yankees could target. There's Tanner Scott on the Marlins, Kyle Finnegan on the Nationals, Carlos Estevez on the Angels. He's pretty good. People were rumoring Chad Green on the Blue Jays, but the problem with Chad Green, actually, that's someone tweeted out, that's a very good point, actually, that I'm going to cite. Chad Green, he's not like a big strikeout guy, not a big whiff guy. So, and they said, his ERA has been good. He's got like a under 2 ERA for the Blue Jays, but they said some of that's been luck when you look at his underlying metrics. So, yeah, I don't know. I agree with the sentiment that the Yankees need to go out and they need to get a couple bullpen arms that can strike guys out, because that's something that's clearly lacking in this bullpen outside of Clay Holmes and like two other relievers. They really don't have many strikeout guys in that pen. So they need to go out and get someone that can strike guys out. They're not going to go out and get Mason Miller. Mason Miller on the A's, he actually just broke his finger. So he's not going anywhere anyway. But he cost a fortune, But outside of the Yankees having Clay Holmes, Canely, and Weaver, they really don't have guys that can really get a lot of strikeouts. And that's partially an issue because, yeah, you can have guys in your bullpen that get a lot of ground balls like Clay Holmes does, but then that's an issue with the defense because as we've seen from the Yankees defense, it's nothing spectacular. And the more balls that you're allowing in play, the more opportunities you're allowing for the defense to fuck it up, like the Yankees have done in recent games. So they need more guys in that pen that can strike guys out and can strike a lot of guys out. So that's going to be one area. They got to bolster the bullpen. And then the Yankees got to go out and get a third baseman because, look, the backup to DJ is Oswald. And Oswaldo Cabrera, at this point, he's a better option than DJ. He's younger, switch hitter. Play him at third base. But at the end of the day, you need a guy. You need a guy that can hit over there, preferably for some pop too, at third base. They've rumored names Luis Rengifo. He can play second and third for the Angels. He's just coming off the IL. He was dealing with an injury. But also corner outfielder too. Another name to look at is Brent Rooker, the A's. Big power bat. He's having a tremendous year. And then Jason Dominguez too. They're saying maybe he could be back by September, but I don't know, man. It's just what a shit fest. And they also rumored too Jonathan India on the Cincinnati Reds. He's a second baseman. You look at his stats. He's not a bad player. 271 batting average, 8 home runs, 40 RBIs. He's a decent player. 789 OPS. He's a guy the Yankees are heavily interested in, according to John Morosi. And then you look at some of the other players on here. The Yankees have been linked to. They actually were linked to former starting pitcher Jameson Taillon. The Yankees called the Rockies about All-Star Ryan McMahon on the Rockies, who's hitting 270 right now, 15 home runs, 802 OPS. He's having a solid season. But the Rockies are really not inclined at all to trade him. It would probably take quite the big package to even remotely possibly get a deal done. So that's probably not going to happen.
And then some other names on here. Oh yeah, Jazz Chisholm Jr. for the Marlins. Apparently, I mean he's like an okay player this year. He hasn't been anything like amazing this year. He's actually kind of having a bit of a down year, but he's an upgrade. He's an upgrade over what we got. But apparently the Yankees don't like his personality. They think he's like too cocky or whatever, and they don't want him, which I think is personally ridiculous. I mean, look, at the end of the day, this guy can bring life into the clubhouse. He can bring energy. He plays with a lot of emotion. And look, if that rubs some people the wrong way, whatever. But at the end of the day, this is the same team that acquired Josh Donaldson, Verdugo. Those are guys that play with a lot of chip on their shoulder, especially Josh Donaldson. And, that's why I just don't understand it. They've acquired plenty of guys. Mark Stroman, another guy, plays with a very big personality. I mean, come on. Like, you really want some other cookie cutter guy in that clubhouse? No, you need someone in that clubhouse to fire the shit out of every. You need someone to fire guys up in that clubhouse. And if it maybe takes a guy that has a bit of a big personality around the edges, whatever. I mean, honestly, at this rate, I mean, I would take that chance. I really don't see. I'm also reading here, Cubs infielder Nico Horner could potentially be available. He's not anything really great, but yeah, look, any of these guys is an upgrade over what we got right now. So I'm trying to see John Birdie. The Yankees are trying to get him back. I'm not really sure when he's going to get back. I think I don't know if he's beginning a rehab assignment yet or something. I'm not even seeing anything on him as of late. But yeah, I mean, so the Yankees need bullpen help. They need another infielder. They need a couple bats. Infielder, outfielder, corner outfielder, if they can. And yeah. And starting pitching, you can never have enough of that either. That's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, it would be totally feasible to do all those things. Not do all those things. A trade deadline wish list that would be totally feasible would be like, hey, we need another bat and we need a couple bullpen arms, or we need a bat, a bullpen arm, and another starting pitcher. But they need like 5-6 guys, and that's just not going to happen. I mean, Michael Kay said that on his show today. You're not going to go out there and you're not going to have a trade deadline when you're acquiring 4, 5, 6+ guys. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So you just got to hope they can maybe, at best, honestly, the ideal trade deadline for them that they need to do, they need to go out and they need to at least get one bat, at least, if not two. And they need to go out and also get some bullpen help too. And if you can maybe go out there too and get a mid-line starter like a Jameson Taillon, who's actually been good for the Cubs this year, or I don't know, some I'm trying to think off the top of my head. There's really not a lot of starting pitching out there. But some back-end starting pitcher to put in the rotation, because the Yankees always deal with injuries on that front, then you kind of have to do that too as well. That's just my take on it. But at the end of the day, this is just a shitstorm. And, key highlights of this game, just to summarize, Soto was 2 for 5 with the home run. And then Torres had the leadoff home run. And, yeah, I mean, that was pretty much it. That was the Yankees offense. They had 6 hits. The Mets, on the other hand, had 14 hits and a 12-3 victory. So, and the Mets, now they're chasing the Braves in the wild card. You look at the updated standings. Now the Yankees are 2 games back of the Orioles. The Orioles won today against the Marlins. They came back and won that game. But if you look at the wild card standings, the Yankees, it's really just it's just insane how bad it's gone. They're now only 3.5 games up in that first wild card spot. Boston's only a game out of the wild card. And as for the Mets, they are a game and a half back of the Braves for the first wild card spot. That's insane. The Mets actually play the Braves tonight. The Mets play the Braves at home in 10 minutes. So crazy. Two teams, Yankees and Mets, that completely flipped. The Yankees, they got off to a red hot start to the season,
and we're red hot, first 2 months, and then May, Mets were like the worst team in baseball in May, and then now here we are, dog days of summer, and it just completely flipped. Mets are one of the hottest, if not the hottest team in baseball, and Yankees are one of the worst, if not the worst team in baseball right now. So crazy how that works, crazy how baseball works. The Yankees are off tonight, thank goodness, and they open up tomorrow against the Red Sox at Fenway. Honestly, expecting the worst. I mean, playing in Boston is always tough with that crowd, especially, and the Red Sox picking it up at this point in the season. They got to face Brayan Bello tomorrow. He's got a 5.27 ERA, so that's one positive. The guy they're throwing out there who was amazing last year, rookie pitcher for them, has been pretty bad this year. The Yankees are throwing out Nestor Cortez, who's pretty much every start this year has been awful on the road. So it'll be interesting to see how that game goes. Probably will be a high-scoring. Actually, no, probably not. Probably won't be a high-scoring game probably on the Red Sox side. Yankee side can't really say the same thing because that lineup is absolute shit. But Brayan Bello has not been good this year, so it should be interesting. Maybe we'll have a high-scoring game on both sides. We'll see. And then Marcus Stroman will get the ball Saturday, and then Sunday Carlos Rodon will get the ball. All we got to do is just hope that the Yankees actually care and have a good deadline, and some of these guys can turn it around, and just hope that Fenway doesn't become an absolute disaster this weekend for the Yankees. Anyway, have a good night, everybody. Enjoy the rest of this day off for the Yankees. Hopefully you can do something relaxing or do something to get the frustration, anger. I don't know. Do something to take your mind off watching this team right now because it's been dreadful. But if you've listened up to this point or listened at all, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Have a good one, guys. I'm not going to have an episode tomorrow because I'm going to be out with friends. It's Friday night. I'll be watching the game and I'll be following it, but I'm not recording an episode, win or lose. But I will have a recap episode at some point, either Saturday or Sunday. So stay tuned for that. Thank you very much, everybody. Let's go Yankees. Hang in there. Hopefully brighter days are ahead. And I will see you all very, very soon. Have a great night, everybody. Peace.